Yes, this is Ability Matters. I'm your host, Tony Scornelio, and with me as per... The boss is here
as
now,
per
right?
unusual.
Yes, as per unusual, that's right. The boss is with us, listeners down there. Welcome to Sean. How are you, Sean?
Good, eh? Good, thanks, Tony. How are you going today?
Well, not bad, but...
And that bit, we'll have to, like you say, fix it. It cut off that My Home Living Care are the sponsors of this, support
the sponsor,
this
that's right,
program.
Yes.
Yep, that's all right.
I'll fix it back up, don't worry. But, yes.
Technology. Yeah, it's good to be back in the chair. It's been a while. It's been good 6 or 7 months since I've been in the chair, so... Good to get out and have some fun, and we've got a very interesting interview subject today.
Doing the essential behind-the-scenes stuff that no one really gets to see. Well, it's radio, so no one gets to see anything.
I think I've promoted myself to producer because I edit the program for the podcast. So I guess that's a producer's credit, isn't it?
There you go.
I hope so. I tell people it is.
So that means you're more... technically savvy, like geeky in other words, yeah?
Oh, yeah, geek's cool these days, I guess.
Yeah.
Or nerdy.
Nerdy, same thing, yeah.
Behind the scenes, definitely. But it's good to get out in front of the scenes and be on the mic, so good to see you.
Yeah, no cameras, this is Mike. So if your voice is a little shy, that's a different story, but there we go.
Definitely got a face for radio, so it's great there's no cameras in here.
Don't we all? That's okay. We're not vain, don't worry. So who's our guest today?
Well, we do have Liz, a Behaviour Support Practitioner, in short, a BSP, not to be confused with the Behaviour Support Plan, which is also BSP, but we'll talk about that a little bit later, to come in and talk about behaviour stuff with people with disability.
It almost sounds like we're talking about a race car situation there with BSB and all that kind of thing, checking out tyre pressure and whatnot there. So.
It's probably even more technical than racing cars, I think, behaviour support. How are you going, Liz?
I'm doing well, thank you, and glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Cool, thanks for coming in. And so you're a Behaviour Support Practitioner, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I'd like to find out a little bit about who you are as a person.
Who is behind the title?
Yes.
Who is behind the title?
So we were talking a bit earlier. Yes. You had the, I don't know whether it's unfortunate or fortunate, I guess you think it's fortunate, thing to be born in Bankstown?
Yeah, absolutely fortunate. I'm very...
Let's not be ashamed of our origins.
That's right, absolutely.
Hang on, sorry, is Bankstown the Berkeley of Sydney, or am I going to get a lot of trouble?
Back in the Bankstown, in the Bronx, I call it.
Okay, the Bronx, fair enough.
And proud of it, love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Love the culture.
And why I said Berkeley is because Tony lives at Berkeley.
Yeah.
So that's
local. All good.
Cool.
All good. Yes. Love Berkeley.
Born in Bankstown?
Yes. So, born and bred Bankstown girl. Proud of it, like I was just saying. And then I ventured out to Wollongong in 2001. Okay. I ended up in Wollongong, pursuing love, lost the love, 2 adult children. Well, one's about to turn adult on Sunday, so yay me. I have 2 adults, no more.
Came out the door?
Well, hopefully, but that's...
Not with house prices these days.
No, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, so hence, lucky BSP me. Loving my life, can you say? Yeah, absolutely. I'm very privileged to be doing what I'm doing.
You're saying you used to have holidays at East Beach at Kiama. I think lots of people have got memories of that fantastic place.
So I'm very familiar with Wollongong, and so I ended up here, like I said, again, by luck. Wollongong and down this area, East Beach Caravan Park was my home away from home. We spent all of our Christmas holidays at East Beach Caravan Park. Loved it, the atmosphere, the culture, the friendships, and always fell in love with Wollongong. And
lovely Kiama.
Yeah, and Kiama.
Talk about house prices. House prices have exploded in Kiama.
Yeah. And lucky to have gotten this far. Wollongong is, cool. Would do me fine.
and you've now got a couple of kids and...
Yep. 2 adults, like I said.
The other cats or dogs or anything, or birds or
I've got my little fur baby, which is my favourite child. My children always, get a bit upset about that, but it's the truth.
Puppy or a pussy?
Is a little... Well, his 5-year-old Maxie, my dog. But he's always going to be my baby, so I always call him Puppy. He's beautiful, my favourite child.
The best part about a pet is they don't really have what's it called when they have consciousness, self-consciousness. They have their own decision-making ability. So
and they don't talk back.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was leaning towards.
They love you regardless. Yeah. Have a bit of a whinge when I'm late with his dinner, but other than that, hey. You just, love you unconditionally. I love it.
I guess we should get some of the bad news out of the way to start with. You support a football team, local football team that's Let's be generous and say it's the second best one in Wollongong.
Well, yes, we are probably the best, and I'm happy to sort of bow down to the second place at the moment.
I say second because it's Cringilla, but I'm a big fan of Coniston, so that's why.
We're big rivals there, but still a very loyal fan. And my son plays for Cringilla, so we're loyal to the end, even if we're at the bottom. I don't care, but we're doing great. Is in the club atmosphere, love it. Yeah, and I volunteer and work out there too. So it's a great place to be.
And Coniston and Cringilla have a very healthy rivalry, both Macedonian kind of founded clubs.
Yeah, Connor's more Greek, isn't it, established? Or is it?
Not really, no. The past president was Greek, but...
that's where I got that from, yeah.
But there's a bunch of English people took it over in the 90s for a little bit as well. So, it's a bit of a mixed history. Initially it was founded as a, Macedonian kind of club. Although... That's
right, yeah.
Not to get too much into it, but it used to be the most southern club, so everyone south of Coniston used to play there, back in the 50s when it started. But here to talk about you, not Coniston.
Yeah, that's all right. I know. I know Cringilla. I know. How did we get to Coniston anyway? That's you.
Yeah, hijacking. So, what you got? Any hobbies or interests or things?
Look, I'm a real with getting on with my age. I'm sort of become a little bit of a homebody, which I love, and my gardening, although at the moment it's not as I'd like it to be. But hey, the gardening. I'm a homebody. I love my homes and decor.
Yeah, and is it like vegetable gardens or?
No, just a little decorative. Okay. Yeah,
cool.
Decorative. And what else do I do apart from soccer? Like I said, my life revolves around my children.
A couple of training sessions a week and matches, and then midweek matches, and it does take up a bit of time.
So that takes up a lot of my time, and otherwise, just a lot of nice quiet time to myself at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the winter for that factor.
So essentially, you are an unofficial parental homebody, yes?
Yes, that sounds good. I'll take that. Yes, yeah.
All right, and so we did mention before you're a behaviour support person.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit about what that involves and behaviour plans and things, but I'm really interested. Why did you become one? What was the path to there?
Yeah, really interesting actually. And so speaking of my Bankstown background, growing up, I did have a little bit of a difficult sort of upbringing. I must admit there were a few difficult times in my life, and in the early ages I was always wanting that support, and counselling was really scarce back then, and psychology and support for people who were going through troubles and so forth. And so I always thought there's a need for something and to help people living with, traumas or disabilities and so forth. So then in my late teens, I started to study the psychology. But of course...
When you say study, like...
psychology.
YouTube videos like lots of kids today, or no, they weren't around back then, but...
No, I ended up at a college in Bankstown, which is non-existent anymore, and started to do.
So did you finish year 12 or this is before year 12?
No, I actually left before year 12.
Wow.
I left in year 10 to pursue all sort of other adventures because I really needed to support myself financially, considering, what was happening within my family life. And so I started to I opened up my own little business of beauty and nails to support myself, to put myself through the studies.
Okay.
So I started with the psychology, and then...
I don't know, but I talk about unofficial. I think a lot of beauticians and hairdressers are unofficial counsellors anyway.
Yes.
So talking people through the reasons why they actually came there. Yes.
A lot of helpful than talking to the bar person. You're not drinking as much, but I think there's a lot of that stuff goes on.
Absolutely. So funny enough, that was the perfect platform, and where I gained most of my experience. I can really...
The people skills, yes?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. And so then doing my beauty and my nail work in my little business, that's what I would often get. They would go, Liz, you should be a counsellor. You're so good at this. You're so good at this. So hence I started to try and study psychology, but then the business just took off. So I became a part-time counsellor, my studies and my business. And then and eventually a while ago, I used to work in the field of still doing my part-time counselling. Years back, I was approached about becoming a support worker.
Okay, for disabilities?
Yes,
through
the NDIS, which I
Roughly how old are you at this stage?
Oh, this was only about
Or how long ago? It's probably a better question.
yeah.
Less intrusive. I mean.
Yeah.
Look, so I was doing the counselling and all that, and the studying continuing on and off because I have been through, unfortunately, a divorce and so forth. So there was a lot of turns
Zigzags
in my
on the
life.
way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
zigzags and studying on and off. So about 10 years ago,
Okay.
while still doing my counselling on the side and studying, I started as a support worker. And then I was doing mentoring with Anala, picked me up, which I'm really grateful for. And then was the talk, because it was quite new, the BSP, the Behaviour Support Practitioner. While doing my mentoring and support work, I also always thought, gee, I need some support here, with some people, because I've got a lot of the mental health studies and, the undergraduate in psychology and counselling behind me.
So you had done a degree, you said?
I have just not completed quite my degree. I'm
Okay.
still studying, actually.
Okay, right.
So,
Yeah.
I have I completed some form of degree back in my 20s, but I didn't continue and I let it lapse, so forth. So, but I've continued to study, did the part-time work. I'm a registered counsellor. Yeah, I have all that sort of study under my belt. While I was doing the support work and the mentoring, I thought, gee, we need more support as support workers and how to help the people that we support with their behaviours and with their issues and how to deal with agitation and
anxiety and
yes,
trauma
anxiety and stresses, that happens in everyday
very
life.
Common, unfortunately, with people with disability.
Yeah. And so it was just so happened that along came a position in Anala, which is the company I work for, Anala, and I was so grateful. And they said, hey, Liz, how would you like to do the behaviour support practitioner? I said, yeah, absolutely. And I found out that that's exactly what it was. It was about supporting all the participant, yeah, absolutely, the person living with a disability. And it was also about more support for the people that cared for them and supported them and on how to assist them to manage all of that anxiety and stressors better without relying on their behaviours to be heard.
That is sounding very wonderful. How about we break up all this speech with a bit of a song here and there? So I'm trying to throw in some
Come back
talking
and
heads.
dive a little bit deeper into...
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go straight back to it. Don't lose that point.
No worries.
I'm going to throw in some talking heads with And She Was from 1985 album Little Creatures. Yeah. And yes, we just heard from Paul Kelly with To Her Door from 1987 album Under the Sun. Now, here's a bit of history to go with Paul Kelly. I went through a few different band names, I suppose you can call it, for this time now. He was actually known as Paul Kelly and the Coloured Girls originally, but then became Paul Kelly and the Messengers to avoid potential racial issues there while he recorded this song. Now, I have heard people refer to Paul Kelly as Australia's Bob Dylan, which is quite the accolade, I believe, and there you go. Australia got a Bob Dylan. Good stuff. All right, then so back to it with Liz and Sean. Go for it, guys.
Yes, I think I'm seeing Paul Kelly later on this year at Berry. I think he's performing.
Oh, I know what I want to say.
But,
I'll say lucky, but yeah, there's a certain other word behind it. It's not radio friendly, so yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think there's about 5 or 6 bands from the 80s and 90s. They'll get up and play 3 or 4 of their hits and
wow,
like a best of concert. So
Yeah, that sounds good. Are there still tickets available?
I don't know.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
No, actually, it was somewhere.
It hasn't come up.
Yeah,
It must have sold out.
I've never
real
heard
quick.
of it before. I'd love to
Yeah,
see
it's
that.
called
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm thinking. It must
Red
be
Hot
sold
Summer
out.
Tour or something, or yeah. Well, I was just at a place random in. Sometimes your places you overhear conversations. I actually had a conversation about 3 weeks ago. People tried to get tickets and they couldn't. So that's how I know it's sold out.
Yes, that's what I'm
Bit
thinking.
of inside information there.
Yeah, well, actually, I was DJing and I played a song by Crowded House, and they went, "Oh, we've got to go and see Crowded House," and then they checked and the tickets weren't there. So
Connection.
anyway,
Inside information, DJs, etc., etc.
so all right, before the break, we were
Connections,
talking
yes.
about different things. So, behaviour support person,
Yeah, practitioner, behaviour support.
What does that mean?
Behaviour support practitioner is basically my role is to assist and support the participant, people living with a disability that are presenting with behaviours of concern. So behavioural is our main sort of core. Actually, it's interesting. We're funded through the NDIS. It's an NDIS funded service, and we're funded under the title of Improved Relationships. So I like to think that as a BSP, which is the short, I'll be using the abbreviation.
Behaviour Support Practitioner.
Yes. As a BSP, one of our main roles is to improve relationships for that person living with a disability who is presenting with behaviours of concern, because how we behave absolutely impacts on the relationships we have.
I have a quick question now.
Yes.
When you say relationships, do you mean relationships between friends or within family, that sort of thing? Not romantic relationships?
Relationships in every shape and form.
Right.
I'm even talking about relationships we have with ourselves.
I was about to mention that.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's about working with people to
you've
have
got no self-confidence.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And a lot of the time, if you have, unfortunately, we're dealing with people who have the diagnosis and who have the disability. But what I like to create the behavioural plans, which is what we'll talk about in a minute, is I like to focus on the abilities and the strengths in the individual with the diagnosis and with the disabilities, on how we can use their strengths and their capabilities to improve and enhance them, to then learn the skills and the strategies and the tools to manage their behaviours better, and not rely on these behaviours of concern to be heard and to
Look
develop.
themselves squarely in the mirror and say, what are you doing? You got to ace yourself up there, son.
Yeah, and whether if that is what is necessary, because we do deal with a lot of people who may be isolating themselves, or isolation because of their behaviours. So, that would start with themselves, their relationship with themselves.
So there's, I guess, two areas there, isn't there? There's the behaviours maybe relating from the disability, so autism or other sensory sorts of things, and how you process.
Absolutely,
but then
sensory
also
behaviours.
the effect that maybe autism or having a disability has had on, and possibly, just sort of, but traumas like being bullied or missing out on things, or knowing that you're different in the community. So how do you work out, I guess, where, for example, if autism and stops and anxiety starts, or, you know what I mean, which one's the disability, which one's, I guess, not so much the disability, but it's
like a social influence.
That's a really good question. And so what I would say to that is, do you know what? There is no stop and start. It's all entwined, it's a part of their personality, and that's where I really pride myself on building the skills and the supports and providing the support based around that individual. So, yes, they may have the ASD, autism, and I'll use
autism spectrum disorder for ASD.
Yes,
a bit of
thank you.
lingo.
Sorry.
I didn't know that
Thanks
one,
for
so
that,
thank
Sean.
you.
Okay.
Yeah. And so forth. But we have to consider that, regardless of the diagnosis, we're dealing, you may be bullied, you may have experienced traumas that are, not in your control. And unfortunately, when you have got that underlying diagnosis and mental illness, your ability to manage that stress or that trauma that comes from the situations and the experiences is obviously somehow impaired. So that's what a big part of it is. It's helping them to build the skills to deal with.
Yeah. I think you really hit on a key point there about individual, because there's a saying, I don't know if you've heard it, but if you've met one person with autism, you met one person with autism, just because people, have this label, this diagnosis, doesn't mean you go, oh, no, I've seen the movie Rain Man, I know what he's like.
That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely
everyone's so
not.
individual.
Association with something that's more media friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, definitely consider their diagnosis and their background and the history and what makes them who they are.
There are common symptoms and presentations and things. But
then we really focus on their...
Sorry, just speaking of the man, Rain Man, hey, one person's all the same sort of thing. That's the same as people like me who have a brain injury. One person, every person with a brain injury is always unique to every level. Individualised, that's right.
Definitely, yeah. And just knowing the diagnosis, really... That's just it fills a bit of space on a form. It really doesn't tell you anything about a person.
It's a label.
That's right. Yeah. It helps sort of define maybe some of the triggers.
Yes.
Absolutely. But before that injury, you had your brain and you had your person
Yes.
before that injury. So we really like to focus on, yes.
It may have changed slightly, but that's got nothing to do with actual personality. It's more just purely because of the I'm speaking from my own personality now.
Yes.
Purely from the processing speed of the brain itself.
Correct.
I was at university doing everything beforehand, so I was pretty quick. But now, since the brain injury, I've become much slower.
Yeah.
I'm just exaggerating there when I'm speaking, but yes.
No, True.
It's slower to get to the right answer because it's in my brain somewhere, but it's big now maze, so it's harder. It takes longer for me to find the right solution, answer. That's right, the right thing to say.
And that's where we can come in and help with the supports and the people around you and the people that you associate with, and the regardless if you're receiving support through paid services through the NDIS or with families too, and carers and parents.
Exactly.
They've got this child that they've known, most of obviously all of the child's life, and all of a sudden diagnosis and a mental illness can change the whole fact. So we're here to support not just the person, obviously, that's our key. It's in the best interest of the person living with a disability, or I like to say the capabilities.
Yes. The potential even.
Yes, and the potential, yes.
It is interesting too when we look at people with disability, there's this deficit model of what we can't do. I like that you focus on.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm at a party, I don't say, look, hi, I'm Sean, I can't speak French, I can't fly a plane.
That's
you
right.
don't focus on the thing because who cares? Like, if you can't do it,
You promote your positives.
Yeah, well, you talk about things you can do.
Yes.
The things you got to work with. You don't, if you're a tradesman, you don't.
You talk about your ACE cards.
Yeah. If you're a tradesman, you don't reach for tools you don't have. You reach for the tools you have to do the job you have at hand.
Absolutely.
So, just quickly, because we have to go for a break in a second, but in terms of behaviour support, it seems to me the way we're sort of talking there's, I guess, internal strategies for the person, but then also external supports. And just tell me a little bit about that and how that works.
So looking at the person and the individual, then we develop these sort of plans and strategies, and we get all this information, working with all the supports and the people that know them best and the actual person. And then we look at strategies to help them manage stressors, like I said, and agitation, because usually a behaviour of concern is a form of communication when they're not able to express and communicate whatever it is that they have, their issues. So they rely on their behaviours of concern to be heard or to express what it is they're going through. So we develop plans, and I provide and offer strategies, tools, interventions to the support people and all the people that work with that person and family and carers on how to implement and assist them and support them by building these strategies and tools for themselves, so that then the person, the individual, can better help themselves and rely on these strategies and tools and interventions and new things and therapies sometimes too, on how to deal with the stressors and the agitation, so that they don't need to rely so much on their behaviours of concern to be heard
to
and
get their communication across.
And
it's
so
it's a really good point. I think we'll delve a bit deeper in that in a second. We'll have a bit of a break and we'll come back and talk about that.
Wonderful. Well, I've got some Robert Palmer and Beatles coming up.
I feel so lucky loving.
Yes, and that's just a big bang there. Let us know we have to get back to talking again.
That was a huge finish, wasn't it? The Beatles.
Of course, yes. That then, of course, was the Beatles with A Day in the Life from the 1967 album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And before that, I played for you some Robert Palmer with She Makes My Day from the 1988 album, Heavy Nova. Now, everybody knows Robert Palmer for
that video.
Simply Irresistible.
Yeah. So I figured I'd play something a little lesser known there, and I think it's still a good song too, yeah. Got a few thumbs up from various people around the radio, so
nice
good stuff.
Good
Yes.
song.
Very nice.
So, yeah, music as always is fantastic, Tony. It's one of the things I miss when I'm not in the studio.
I may not be the best speaker person or anything like that, any to do anything like that, but I think I pick a good song here and
definitely.
You do,
there.
Definitely.
yeah. It looks like it. Sounds like it. Sorry, I should say.
Looks and sounds all the same thing.
We can. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So before the break, we're talking
Back
about
to it.
behaviours of concern.
yes.
I want to talk a little bit about them, but before, what are behaviours of concern?
Just to remind listeners, we're having an interview between Liz and Sean, obviously, from, where are you from again, Liz?
Anala.
Anala. And your specific little title, you were...
I'm a behaviour support practitioner
That's the one I was going to...
and counsellor, but
Yes.
we're talking about behaviour support practitioners today.
Just to remind listeners who may have just tuned in for the moment, yes, to VOX FM, the Illawarra's greatest community radio station, 106.9.
Illawarra is, I think, Australia's greatest community radio station.
Fair enough.
Don't limit to just Illawarra.
Well, I don't know.
Let's just say that.
Yeah. Countrywide, the greatest community radio station. There you go.
Let's
you
go
go.
universal. The universe is...
Why not, if you can?
Yeah.
Who's going to stop you?
All right. So behaviours of concern, what are they? What's the definition of behaviour of concern?
Okay, look, so there's, as you can imagine, again, individualised, there's a variety. Basically, let's talk about verbal aggression, physical aggression, isolation, withdrawal. Some of the behaviours are just self-harming and... I don't really...
Is there sort of like a definition, though, like something about the impact it has on the others or the self or something, or maybe the NDIS has a definition of...
Like a certain line you have to cross?
Like, yeah.
So say that again, sorry.
So behaviours of concern, is there like a definition, like a 1 or 2 sentence definition? So you gave some great examples there, but of
Like
how would you
concern.
identify if a behaviour is of concern?
Oh, okay. So basically... this is how I can put it. So any behaviours that you have that impede or that are stopping you from living and your full life and daily activities and community and partaking in the community.
So sort of stopping you having the best life that you can.
Yeah. Sort of behaviours that are imprinting on, you being able to have that community connection and to just live out your daily tasks.
So kind of like, I guess, shyness
and
or
relationships.
Shyness or avoidance could be a behaviour of concern if it's, extreme.
So that would come under withdrawal. Yes,
right.
absolutely.
Yes,
we have a lot of people that withdrawn, and it's mainly social anxiety, anxiety issues and fears, or intellectual disabilities, IDs that they just don't know how to approach. And again, relationships is a big factor when you're they can develop relationships, but if they can't maintain them, it becomes a bit difficult, and so they give up and then they withdraw again because it's about understanding and that communication level. It's different for people living with a disability. The way they express themselves and the way they communicate might not be received quite as well.
You touched on it a little bit earlier, and I'd like to get really deep into this. So
Yes.
all behaviours are communication. Please comment. Doesn't sound like a uni question, does it?
Well, definitely. No.
Quiz question?
So, absolutely. Generally, I do teach that everyone presenting with a behaviour of concern is usually a form of communication that they have a need or a want or an issue that they need to have sorted or dealt with, or something that they need to gain from it. Absolutely.
I'm just thinking now, as an example of this behaviour of communication, if a need for a want or a need, would that be like a baby crying because it's hungry?
Absolutely. So when we're born, we're born with the basic instincts, and this is how we communicate. And along the way, we learn to verbalise it. We learn communication in different forms. But what happens when there is a impairment in that processing and learning those abilities?
Well, I don't think, let's say, for example, now, I'm not being racist or anything, but let's say, first example I can think of, say I go to Chinatown or something like that. I can't speak Asian or Chinese language like that, but I doubt that crying would make them think that I'm hungry.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And then like just to deepen that, the behaviours of, if you want to order something, pointing at something on the menu, that's a behaviour, that's a communication, even though it's not the verbal kind of. So that non-verbal communication, I think, is pretty big in a lot of what you do, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's about helping them to identify what is, sometimes they don't even know what their need is. Sometimes it could be that they don't even know that they're hungry. So I'm using that as an example, but that's probably a far-fetched one. But it could be a physical pain and considering,
pain, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Regardless of an emotional pain, which is the same sort of type of annoyance and negative feelings and emotions, and they basically don't even realise themselves what it is that's happening. And so that's where a BSP can do a lot of the work and support the people around them and themselves to sort of talk about identification and learn the behaviours and see, okay, when does it happen? How does it happen? What usually happens beforehand? What are the triggers? And this is where we can come into play and really help them to sort of identify in the environment too, what's happening in the environment, why are they resorting to, who are the people that they're communicating this to, does it happen only with some people? Does it happen only in some environments? So this is all a big factor. So there's a long sort of tentacles out there to process till you get to trying to help them with that behaviour.
Years ago, I worked with a young boy, and it was kind of people thought at random when you're driving along in the car, he would try and get out of the car. And when the car was moving fast, and everyone was like, well, we need to put
absconding.
Yeah, we need to put seatbelts on him so he can't get out. And then I'll ask a little bit about this. Yeah, so restricted practices, and I'll ask you a little bit about that in a sec. But
save him from himself. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you get out of a moving car at a high speed. It's apparently it was at random. But through the whole restricted practices process, we'll talk about in a sec, was identified pretty quickly that what the trigger was driving past the McDonald's. And so there's a lot of McDonald's around. So when he drive past, and then we talked to the family, and turned out, so his brother and sister had gone to McDonald's for like lots of rewards, good at ballerina. And he, as a young kid, he'd been told by a doctor that he couldn't have preservatives, so he couldn't have Maccas. So he'd go to these family outings to Maccas and had to sit there and watch everyone else have Maccas.
Yes.
And then, so then when he was older, he wanted to go to, and then we did a bit of research and found out that dietary restrictions probably wasn't as strict. It was probably a good healthy thing, but not, he wasn't going to be poisoned by it. And so the result was to get him Maccas, and it basically cured the behaviour. But what I really liked about that, and some people I think that work in the NDIS see restricted practice as a bit of an onerous thing, to what you go through, but I think it's really good. But let's talk about restricted practices. What's just in a bit of a summary, what they do and what's the process, and there's a lot to it, but I think that story highlights how important it is.
So you were talking about safety, and obviously a restrictive practice is only implemented and considered when there is a real concern for the risk of safety harm to themselves or to others. And we need to collect a lot of data. We need to do a lot of support around helping them organically and introduce the strategies before we implement restrictive practices. But you're absolutely right. So if we have an unidentified trigger, which we didn't know yet, like you said, the McDonald's, but this was reoccurring, and the support people and the carers have implemented all the strategies to try and help them to reduce.
To distract, redirect.
Yes, redirection, distraction, strategies to try and reduce that behaviour. Hasn't worked, and now it's come to the point where we're at risk of harm, serious harm here. A behaviour support practitioner will go in and monitor, write it up, sort of analyse, collect all the data. A lot of data. That's why we work closely a lot with the support system and the support network. Without them, the BSP really is only half a job, because we need that data, we need that information. We don't just go ahead.
The support workers, your eyes and ears on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And we rely on them heavily, and really appreciate that collaboration, because without that data, there is no way we can implement any restrictions. And our role is actually to try and reduce them and remove and really avoid implementing restrictive practices. But again, like we said, if we've done everything else first,
they're heavily regulated.
Sometimes there is a need.
They've got to be kind of reported and managed and monitored by the NDIS.
Monitored,
what are some examples of restrictive practices, just to give people an idea? So we talked about putting a seatbelt on or locking a car door so someone couldn't get out, in my example. What are some other ones?
That's one restraint. So probably the most common one that I have is around medication, and around...
So medication to modify behaviour and stabilise...
So chemical restraints is generally because of, again, we've tried everything organic and all the normal natural strategies, and they haven't worked, and this person is at severe risk of harming themselves or others. So then, chemical restraint is the medication that is used, not for their diagnosis, but purely to manage their behaviours. So that's a really common one.
As opposed to taking medication because you've got anxiety or schizophrenia or other things.
That's right. Psychotropics that are there to manage help with the symptoms of their diagnosis and not considered restrictive practices. But when we have a medication that is purely to manage the behaviours, we do have to write up. But again, we make all efforts to do a fade-out plan, which means that we monitor and eventually, hopefully, over time, we can reduce it and remove it.
Okay.
So that's the main
And I guess some of the
role
ones
and
are
goal.
locking doors or
Yeah, so locked doors,
rooms
yeah,
or-
absolutely,
yeah.
for absconders,
Yeah. It's
and
interesting.
locked doors for their
I-
own safety.
I find schools have a different level of things they can do, because there's still a lot of schools where
Yes.
people are locked in rooms and things like that, which
Yeah.
you can't
So
do
it's
as
a
with
different
NDIS.
institute.
So
Correct.
Yeah, I'm sure there's good reasons for it, but it's interesting, I think.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. So there are amazing schools too, with the disability schools.
I
that's
think
what
one of the
they
good
do.
reasons for not locking people in rooms would purely be for it's a human rights sort
Yes.
of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It
So
doesn't. but
That's right. So that's what a part of my role is, to protect their human rights. And
Yeah.
that's what I said. We really focus on their individual safety and abilities and strengths, and that person, we're really person-centred, and we have to ensure that everything, even when there is a restrictive practice needing to be implemented, their human rights are most
and
important.
I guess schools have got one teacher to 30 kids, so there are
yeah.
resource issues or logistics issues. So we've only got like a minute or two left to
Yep.
talk. Just Anala, who are they? What do they do? And
So
how good are they?
Anala, well, in
Did you want to spell how Anala again?
ANALA.
And so what do Anala do?
So what we do is, we do a few things. Oh, sorry. So we do a variety of things. Sorry, I'm going to have to put my glasses on here.
A big list of things. There's
A big list of things. So basically we do behaviour support practitioners. We do counselling, lifestyle support program, mentoring, that's like a support worker, parenting programs. We do support coordination. So recovery coaching. What else do we do? Have I left something important? Our plan management. We also help them with their plans, with their NDIS plans. Yeah,
So people with their
At least a
NDIS
handful of
funding?
important things there, yes.
absolutely.
And plan
yes.
management's help people with their NDIS funding and the
Yes.
expenditure and
Yes.
monitoring of the
And manage
expenditure?
it. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And do
yeah.
you have
Keep everybody honest?
do you have those contact details with
Well,
you?
yeah, what's the best way to contact Anala?
Our contact number is 02 48 72 4371, or you can send us an email at hello@anala.com.au.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming in, Liz.
And the
Appreciate
email
your
again was
time.
hello@anala.com.au.
Yes, correct.
Cool. And I
email.
know, I'll probably have to get you back on later, I think, to talk a little bit more. I think we just
Yeah,
scratched the
absolutely.
surface. There's
That'd be lovely. Oh,
a whole
absolutely.
lot of behaviour support plans. I
I'd
want
love
to talk
that.
about what's part of those, and
Yeah,
the whole,
sure.
as you mentioned before, the NDIS and how behaviour support has really come to the fore with that, and how the NDIS
Yeah.
has really helped that, I think, become a very serious subject and something that's looked at a lot more than it was 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, and very necessary
yeah.
too. Yeah.
But we don't have time,
Providing
unfortunately.
and supporting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for coming
what
in.
a shame,
Time
but
is
thank
so
you so
valuable.
much for
We
having
haven't
me.
got
Go Coniston.
Yeah, go Critty!
Okay, well.
Thank you.